Hello, hello, hello. Hey, everyone. We are trying this again, as someone in the comments aptly mentioned. Uh, we are trying to see. We're going to, as we are here at Riverview, if you're watching on YouTube or on Facebook, just have patience with us as we attempt to do this. But as we spoke at church, we're going to the book of Revelation, but we're not going to hit too much of the history there at church. We're going to apply it to our lives. So here we want to slowly and quickly hit some of the book of Revelation and some of that history. So thank you all for being here, for watching. We will try to figure out how to get it to the church's Facebook. You can leave comments, thoughts, or anything. So without anything else, let's hit this. The book of Revelation, which is exciting. So let's try it out. Uh, Hopefully, you guys can see that. So here we go. We begin that John was writing from the book from the island of Patmos. He got there after they had tried to cook him alive, and he just had a nice bath on oil. So they sent him to the island of Patmos, and there God appears to him, and it says, "Blessed are those who what who read this and keep those things in their hearts." And this letter is to actual people. It's not just for for us to figure it out later on. This is to actual people. And so it's to the churches in Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamos, Tayatara, Sardis, and Philadelphia, and Laodicea. And so as we see, as you guys see that, uh, we talked about last week that these were real people that had real interests, that needed, that they really truly needed to hear what God was trying to say to them. And so we talked that we're gonna go to the history. So usually we interpret this as also seven periods in church history. So the first is that Ephesus, the first church, is this is usually from 70 to 100, what we call the late apostolic period. This is when Rome begins persecuting a little bit more outwardly and killing people. So this is the church of Ephesus. Then we have the period of Smyrna, and we call this the post-apostolic period. This is when the first church fathers they begin to be persecuted, killed. These are like the stories that we hear of right there in sorry, that we hear that they take them to the Roman Colosseum, and they're doing all of these things. That the third period is that of Pergamos, this Christianized empire. This is when Christianity begins to grow so much, even though they're trying to get killed and all of this. Uh, God just shows up in such an incredible way that the empire says, well, might as well join them. If you can kill them, join them. And so Christianity begins to mix with the Roman Empire. Then we have Tayatara, and this is when the papacy and the Reformation. But this is like when the papacy is basically running the show. This is when religion goes from being persecuted to persecuting other people. Then we go to Sardis, and this is the post-Reformation and Enlightenment. This is when no one really wanted to know anything about the church, and so things begin to go west, and persecution. All the Reformed churches that come out start persecuting each other. They start killing each other. There's Enlightenment, who says we don't need God anymore, and so the church in this period, God calls it dead. But there's a few people that come out of that, and then they bring about the awakening. And so Philadelphia from 1750 to 1888, around there. And then we have the Laodicea, the 1880 end to the end. This is the not the just the postmodern. This is the Great Awakening. This is people that are just comfortable with who they are. So we're gonna go through the churches for a little bit. The Church of Ephesus. It was a desirable church. It was a desirable town. See, it was built in the 11th century before Christ. Uh, and this was the first or greatest city of Asia. So this was like a nice city to be. This was a place where you wanted to live. And so this is a church that had a lot of things going for them in the city of Ephesus. It was the official gateway to Asia for Roman officials, so it had a lot of influence. Uh, and then it was the center of trade and commerce. It had a seaport, had an intersection of three major highways, and so in Ephesus things were happening. Also, the Temple of Diana, one of the seven. You guys, can you guys read that? One of the seven wonders of the world at the time. So this was a place where 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 incredible things happen, and the church begins to grow a lot. It was also the harbor was abandoned in the fourth century after Christ. And here's some pictures that you can see. There was a huge theater for people to join and to do this. So see, look at that. So it wasn't just a place of hanging out. It's a great place. It's a map of the downtown of Ephesus. You see, let's see if you can. No, you can't. I can't really show. But there was a fountain. There was the buildings. There was the theater. There was a big library. Here's some more pictures that you can go visit today if you wanted to. Sorry for the quality. I will attempt to have better quality next time. Columns. So there we go. Then the church at Ephesus. This was the mother church of Asia. It was begun by Aquila, Priscilla, and Apollos, and it was reorganized under Paul about 56 AD. Paul's preaching there threatened Diana worship, and so we can see that probably one of these places he got beat up, Paul, and then Timothy was killed here after preaching against the festivals of Diana. And then John, who was an elder of the church, he lived here with Mary until they died after he came back from Patmos. We know this from tradition passed down from generation to generation. Uh, all right, so we're gonna, yeah. Now we're gonna go to Smyrna. If you have any questions, you can type them there, and then I will see them eventually. So here we go. Smyrna. This is myrrh, the aromatic plant. This was the second city of importance in Asia. It was the ornament of Asia and the crown of Iona. It was built in the 12th century before Christ, and it was rebuilt as planned by Lysimachus in 200 before Christ. So these are cities that are long there. They have a tradition. They're a good history, a good culture. It also has a long history of sieges, massacres, plagues, fires, and earthquakes. Uh, and it was the commercial center for full protector harbor on trades routes through the Hermes Valley. It was the largest of the three cities uh, that still are flourishing. So here's some pictures, some of those columns, some of those aqueducts, some of these places. This is the harbor today. So it's still today is going. The church in Smyrna is not mentioned anywhere else in the Bible, so we don't have much information in the Bible about it. Many Jews moved there in the first century and promoted persecution of Christians because, well, they didn't want to lose. Polycarp, he's one of the church fathers. He writes amazing things. He was the bishop of Smyrna. He was born at the stake at the age of 86 in 155, 160. And the church flourished until modern times, though the city was destroyed and the city was destroyed as well. Let's go to Pergamos. Uh, it's a high elevation, a tower 1,000 feet high. It was built in the 12th century before Christ. It's the third city of importance in Asia, a royal city, capital of the province of Asia. So here was the capital city, formerly capital of the Attalid kingdom. Which was given, I guess Rome took it in 133 before Christ. And then Babylonian priests made Attalid kings, their priest kings. Pontifex Maximus, their headquarters was in Pergamos. So this was where the Roman armies had most of their power. Uh, this was the city of temples. It was declared the birthplace of Jupiter, the temple of Zeus, Jupiter locator. It was the center of the emperor worship, with a temple built to worship Caesar and Augustus, a temple of Asclepius, the savior, healer god, son of Apollo, represented as a serpent. And the library here had about 200,000 books or parchments, not actual books. And the Supreme Court of Asia and the proconsul had the right of the sword, the Imperium. So here you begin to see that this city, Pergamos, is a city where they're used to religion and politics, or the empire, mixing together. So it's of no surprise that when John is writing to them, he's saying, "Stay away from that. That is not really good for you." Here's some pictures. Here's also a huge theater by the side of the mountain. Uh, these columns, the altar of ancient Pergamos. Uh, so it looks pretty good. Sorry, I'm gonna skip some of that because you guys don't need to be looking at all those pictures, or probably you don't want to. Uh, and then I think my keynote just shut down. Uh, Anyways, as we keep on going, do you guys have any questions so far? Who do we gotta say hi to? We have two people viewing, probably one on Facebook and one person in YouTube. Sorry guys, my keynote just shut down, so we're gonna try to reopen it again, but we can chat, we can talk. uh Here we go. Anyways, how are you guys doing? Good? No one's watching. All right. uh So here we go. Oh man, here we go again. So we are gonna go to Tayatara now. This is uh, the church at Tayatara. Here we go. It was a city of sacrifice for sweet labor. It was founded by Seleucus Nicar as a cavalry post, as a garrison city to guard the road to Pergamos. So a city of a lot of soldiers. It was a manufacturing town on important trade route, compromised of poor laborers and organized into guilds. Uh, Two leading industries: bronze implantments and dyeing of clothes, especially purple and scarlet. So they would make royal clothing at Thyatira. Um, and then this is the temple of Apollo, uh, with the high priestess. Here's some pictures that you could see. People are still walking around. So the church of Thyatira, little is known, but Lydia, a convert of Paul in Philippi and a seller of purple cloth, was from Thyatira. This is found in Acts 16, 14, and 15. And Lydia opened her home to the church in Philippi. And so maybe she had returned to Thyatira to evangelize her community and start a church there. It talks about worship to Jezebel. So Jezebel, if you guys remember, was the daughter of the king of Sidon, who was a priest of Baal, Astarte, and she was the priestess of Baal and imported Baal worship into Israel. Um, Things probably did not go as well as they could have. Uh, Ahab, king of Israel, married her and led God's people to abandon Yahweh's worship, God's worship. You guys probably remember Elijah having this whole thing. So she had 450 prophets of Baal that Elijah destroyed, and then God sent Elijah to bring reformation, and God gave Israel 3.5 years to repent. Ahab and Jezebel offsprings were all destroyed and killed. Sardis, the church of Sardis, means that which remains, or those escaping. It was founded in the 12th century before Christ, the capital of the ancient kingdom of Lydia, and it was a secure fortress built on a 16 feet high plateau with perpendicular rocks faces accessible by one steep narrow passage. And it was captured twice by Trajan because of the citizens were overconfident of the security, and so they just got captured because they thought they could never get captured. And it was destroyed by an earthquake in AD 17, and it was partially rebuilt, but it never fully recovered. So here you can see some ruins up there in the mountain, where you can visit if you would like. Philadelphia, a city of brotherly love. not here in the U.S., but back there. It was founded in 189 before Christ. Attalus, Philadelphia's brother of King of Lydia. It guarded an important pass to the eastern highlands with power to open and close. It was called the Little Athens for the magnificence of its public buildings. And it was commissioned by Rome to spread Greek culture. It was also put in a volcanic area, fertile, subject to frequent earthquakes more than other cities. Here's some sheep, but you guys can see those huge columns. And now we're gonna go to Laodicea. Judging people, founded in 261 before Christ by Antiochus in honor of his wife Laodicea. A junction of post roads from Ephesus to Pergamos to Syria, and he was the gatekeeper of pass to the east, called to the gate of Pergia, and had two main city gates, the Ephesian gate and the Syrian gate east. And it was populated mostly by Syrians and Jews brought from Babylon, and the markets were controlled by Jews. A commercial banking city famous for its wealth. It refused Roman aid after it had an earthquake that destroyed the whole city. They said, "We can do it ourselves. We can build it up." Raised black sheep from which silk-like black wool cloth was made, and made collyrium, is an eye salve powder at the School of Medicine connected to the temple of Asclepios. And it was known for hot minerals. Hot springs from Hierapolis were brought into the city via aqueducts into Laodicea. Uh, these are the aqueducts that you can see. And the Church of Laodicea was, we don't know who founded it, but Paul mentions it as the home of a woman named Nympha. And then Paul also sends greetings to the brethren at Laodicea via the Colossians church, and instructed the latter to read the letter to Laodicea and to share their own letter with Laodicea. So we're gonna finish here uh, with this here. Uh, with that section. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is that this is a real church. This is these are real people, and as much as we like this history, the history can inform us. But I think that one of the main things that it can inform us is that our culture, if we're not very careful, can actually destroy a religious experience with Christ, because we are used to listening to what the culture says, and the culture can seep right in. And we usually fight, like this, we're fighter churches. But it says, then don't just fight too much, love people as well. And so, whichever church you find yourself, I invite you to watch the video from the sermon on Saturday. God is calling us, because the seven churches, as messed up, seven churches, I do know how to count, the seven churches, as messed up as some of them were, they were still God's church. And that's what God wants us to know, that doesn't matter what stage of our Christianity we find ourselves in, we are still God's church, and God is calling us to join Him, to walk with Him, to move with Him. And so, as we look at the history, let's also remember that this is a call for you and for I to come together to surrender to God. All right, guys. I hope you guys had a good a good time watching the history of it. Next week we'll come in and we'll join, and we'll be talking about Revelation chapter 4 and maybe chapter 5. We're doing this after the sermon, and we probably may change the format a little bit later so that we can talk. If you guys have any questions, you can go ahead and send them. Send us a comment, or send us a message, a direct message, and then we'll try to answer them. Thank you all for being here. You have a good one. And let's remember that we studied the book of Revelation, not because we want to be scared, but because God reveals Himself through there. And there's nothing scary. This is not a book. This is not a book about beasts. This is not about a book about anything. This is about how the people of God end up winning and end up living with Him forever. All right. Thank you for your patience, for trying to figure this whole thing out, but we wanted to start trying it out. All right. Have a good one. Bye bye.